All right, in today's video, if you have just purchased this unit, the NUX or NUX MG-30, no one wants to waste time, reading the manual. I've read the manual for you, so we are going to go through how to operate the unit. We're going to go through all the features and functionality, and you're going to come out at the end of this video just knowing how to navigate your NUX or NUX. Tell me if in the comments if you know how to pronounce that. I've heard it both ways online, but we're going to just go through how to operate this unit. It's amazing. I've spent some time with it now. So let's dive right in. I'm going to show you this view right here. So you're going to be able to see the unit. I will occasionally switch to this view as well. We'll have just a full scale view of the unit itself, but we're mostly going to be living in this land. I'm going to play a little bit through the guitar. This is not a sounds video. I just want to show you the functionality of the unit so you don't have to read the manual and kind of wonder how to operate it. I've been living with the unit now for about a week and a half or so by the time I finally got my hands on it. So again, real easy to use. We're going to go through all that functionality. Let's dive in right now. Now, I do want to point out that what you see on the screen there too is this is the QuickTone editor that comes with it comes for free with the unit, or you download it from their website. And it's very intuitive. It's really nice because it gives you a visual. So if you plug in via USB like I am right now, it gives you a visual of what you're doing. But the unit itself, I will say this, you don't have to use the QuickTone editor to adjust the settings and parameters. It's real easy to use, as you'll see as we go through this. So I want to show you that, but I want to show you this really quick. I won't go back to this view, but I want you to get the full kind of view of what the QuickTone editor is like for the sake of this tutorial. And by the way, what I have up here on the right is just Studio One. I'm running simply through the DAW, so you get the full stereo sound of the NUX unit when I do some playing through the actual unit with the electric guitar here. But so you see that's all I've got there. But I wanted you to show you just this view here. That I've got this master list of presets here, as you can see there. The only thing I'm doing in this view is just cutting off that master list of presets just so I could fit everything on the screen and make this a good experience for you just watching this video. But you'll see here you do have the names of the patches that show up here. So that's why I figured this is not really essential to, if I go back to this, not really essential to have these here. And so with that, let's dive right in. Now, what I've done too, you'll notice as we're going through this, if you've got the unit yourself, and I do recommend that if you actually have this unit, man, get your unit out and kind of go through this step by step with me. But you'll notice if you do have the unit, the names of the patches are the stock patches. This is a complete factory reset. I've done a complete factory reset of the unit just to make sure that this video would be helpful for you, the viewer that has just purchased this unit, just got it out of the box and wants to know how to use it. So everything is stock factory. There's a couple snags that I ran into that I want to help you avoid. So wanted to do a complete factory reset on this to show you that and show you how it works. So with that, without further ado, let's dive in here. So obviously, kind of intuitive here, you've got the master volume. And you know what, for this, let me switch to this. You've got the master volume here. And now this is tied, this isn't tied to the USB recording, by the way. So if you're wondering during this video, like, hey, this is down the whole time and how come you're still getting sound? It's not actually tied to the USB recording. This is tied to the headphones on the back of the unit here and also the left and right out. So that's your master volume, how you control that. I will show you if you're running this into your DAW, how you can adjust the volume of the patches individually as well. So I will show you that. Now you've got these four rotary knobs here, and this is how you're going to adjust all your parameters once we get into the patches. So I'll show you that. I just want to point out all the different parts of the unit first. This is kind of your 5-way joystick, if you will. So you've got the ability to go left and right with it, up and down, and it's different functions when you hold, and I'll show you all of this in a second here. And you can also push the button in, as well as these. There's actually some hidden functionality when you push these in when you're in parameter mode. So I'll show you all that as we go, but I just want to point out all the different kind of parts of the unit, if you will. You've got your home global button here, which is also kind of your backspace button. So just keep that in mind as we go through. This is your backspace button. You can always hit that back to go one layer. So you'll notice there, for example, I went into edit mode. If I hit that, you go backspace and you're back to kind of the main layer here with all your different patches. And then now over here, these are your signal blocks. Essentially, this is like if you had a bunch of pedals on a pedal board, this is like using your foot to turn them on and off. So it's real easy to turn them on and off, and you'll notice what's happening here. If I turn all these off really quick, you'll see in the signal chain, they're all not highlighted, right? None of them are on at the moment except for your your volume there, and looks like the gate is on at the beginning of the chain. But when you click these like so, they come on and off. And so real handy. There is some hidden functionality with these that I'll show you in a second here. When you hold them, you get into editing mode. And there's also some ways you can kind of switch the order. But again, we'll get into that. I just want to give you an overview of the unit. Obviously, self-explanatory here. You've got your effects pedal, acts as a volume pedal, and also controls your wah, or can control different effects parameters. And I'll show you how to assign all of that as we keep going through the video. And then obviously here, pretty standard. These are your foot switches. This right now is set up to tap tempo. You can always see what it's set up as here. It says right there, the control is set up as tap. So there is a way to assign this to control different parameters, but pretty handy. Nice visual here. If you hit these two together, you enter into tuner mode. And actually going to tune the guitar here with you. You'll see this. So tune the guitar. Real nice, easy to see tuner as well. And I want to show you the functionality here. If you use this rotary wheel here, you can see you can switch between chromatic or guitar. And obviously the guitar is kind of just, it's an algorithm that's tuned essentially, or just set up to be able to just pick up on the actual strings standard tuning of a guitar. So that's kind of the standard tuning that it comes in. You can switch to chromatic if you need to, especially if you're doing some different tunings and things like that, tuning half a step down, etc. So I'm going to leave it in guitar for now. And now if you push this in, also you'll notice what's happening here. If I get my volume up and I turn this up, you'll actually hear the sound of the guitar is going to come through. So again, there you'll see that I've got the volume pedal down, so it's not coming through. And there we go, that's coming through. Generally speaking, you probably want to leave that off. You know, when you're tuning, you don't really want the sound of the guitar coming through. So, do a quick tune here of the guitars. You can see this. Pretty fast acting tuner. I'm not going to worry too much about getting this perfectly in tune, so don't judge me in the comments below. Like I said, this video is not a sounds video. I really want to show you the functionality of the unit. But I'll just do a quick tune to spare your ears if I do strum a chord. All right, so that's the tuner. To get out of that, you double press. And again, you could always look at the labels here. Real intuitive. So double press the control pedal to get out of that. Now, I'm not going to go through all the functionality of the looper in this, but there is a built-in looper. So if you double press these two foot switches down, it enters kind of the looper mode. This foot switch then becomes the drum loop volume. And I'm gonna stop that for now. And then this is the foot switch that then controls your functionality of your looper. And again, it kind of explains here. The manual does, you know, if you're going to do a lot of looping, encourage you to just read the manual. This is not going to be a video just demonstrating the looper. I could do that in a different separate video if so desired. But again, these pictures here are going to kind of show you the functionality of how that works. Again, to get out of the looper mode, control, double tap the control pedal, and then you are out of looper mode. All right, now what I'm going to do is, oh, and by the way, then this right here, before we switch views here, this is the NMP2, comes with the unit. So this was honestly a selling point of the unit for me, was the fact that it came with a foot switch, which for some other units was another like, you know, 40, 50 bucks or so. The fact that this is just included is amazing, and it just expands the functionality. So these are assignable to different effects, but you can see what's happening here as I click these. Is you can see the different effects box, so the reverb and delay turning on and off. So again, those are assignable, but essentially it expands the functionality of your foot switches. Unfortunately, at least in this, I wonder if this will be a firmware update eventually, but unfortunately you cannot reassign these foot switches to be on and off pedals for your different effects. So right now, the purpose that these serve, as you can see there, is switches your presets up and down. So again, you can't assign these, to my knowledge, you cannot reassign these to actually be kind of operate in stomp mode, which is kind of a bummer because you can actually navigate different patches like so here, like you can see there. So I kind of wish that in a future update that maybe these could be, assignable to actual foot switches or effects blocks. And that way you'd have essentially five different foot switches that you could assign. So again, if I'm wrong on that, if anyone knows knowledge otherwise, let me know down in the comments. But I've kind of scaled the different videos and scaled the manual of this. And to my knowledge, you cannot assign those to different foot switch or to different parameters. So yeah, unfortunately, at least as of now, maybe that'll come in a future update. But again, that goes through all the functionality here of the unit. So I'm going to switch to this view. And now what I want to show you here is just side by side, the QuickTone kind of operating side by side when you tweak different parameters. I'm going to show you how to tweak different parameters, how to adjust all your, whether it's bass, treble, tone on your amps, switch out IR, switch out the cabs. I'm going to show you how to kind of switch the signal routing of the different blocks. You've got 11 blocks, and you could kind of reorder those however you choose. So super handy. I'm going to show you all that, but I wanted to show it side by side with the QuickTone editor here, and you're going to see how responsive it is. And again, it's really nice if you are doing a lot of editing to kind of have that open on your computer, and it just gives a visual reference to be able to kind of look at what you're doing. So with that, let's dive in here. So we are on just the stock, standard patch. We're just going to roll with this for now, just in case you're curious. This is what it sounds like. Rock and roll, right? So again, you're going to want to tweak these to your liking, right? You want to tweak them for different applications. I'm a worship leader myself, so I understand that some people watching this video are going to be coming from a variety of contexts. If you somehow stumbled on this channel, Influential Worship, and you are a worship leader, man, consider subscribing. And again, I purchased this. I explained this when I did the unboxing video. I purchased this. I primarily lead from acoustic guitar, but I purchased this to be able to dive a little more into electric guitar, and then primarily to be able to help other people. We have a development program, my local church. I want to be able to help people start to understand a signal chain. And man, this NUX unit is a great kind of first budget buy for a all-in-one pedal board. I think it sounds great. Haven't had a ton of time to dial in worship tone with it yet, but that will be coming. So again, if you are a worship person, consider subscribing. Would love to have you stick around. And if you were curious about those videos, would love to have you here. I actually didn't think about this functionality just before we get into more features here, but you can actually use some acoustic IRs in this. So I'm actually going to take a shot at doing an IR of my own acoustic guitar. It's a 00015, Martin 00015, and actually run my acoustic through this. So again, if that interests you as a worship person, subscribe, and those videos will be coming in the future as well. All right, let's get back to this. Now, you're going to want to know right away, okay, well, how do I tweak this tone? And obviously, kind of, electric guitar tone starts with your guitar, right? But then it runs into the amp. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn all these other blocks and things off. And you can turn your IR off from the amp, but man, I can't see why you're ever going to want to do this unless you're running into your own cab. But let me just show you the difference of how this sounds here. It sounds real weak and thin. Oh, that is awful, right? Just very just blah, right? So the IR really does make a difference. Listen to that difference, right? Huge difference. So the amp and IR, even though you can turn them on individually, on and off here, they are in the signal chain linked together. So you do need to know that. So you've got 11 blocks that you could play with here, but the amp and IR are always going to be in the same order. You can't move the IR. Again, don't know why you would want to, but just so you know that. You cannot move that around, but you can decide, and turn the volume off here, you can decide where you want the amp to sit in the signal chain. So the easiest way to play around with the signal order is to push up on the joystick, and then you could see it brings this up here. Let me switch to this view for a second. You could see it brings up this view where you could see how your signal chain is routed. So what you can do then is if I push amp here, there's a little white bar under the amp and IR unit there. And this is what I mean by them being linked. I'll show you this here. If you now go left and right, so all I'm doing there is I'm not using the rotary dial. I'm actually using the joystick functionality going left and right. You could see you could place that wherever you want in the signal chain. So pretty handy. And now this works the same for all the blocks. So if I go, okay, delay, even though it's not on right now, if I press this, whoops, sorry, let me go back here. Up. If I press this delay here, let me turn this on for a second. There we go. So if I get that delay on, I'm going to go up. Now you can actually see it visually there. So now it's adjusting the delay. So again, just whatever block you want to adjust, just get to that block. So if I hit comp, you can see it's going to change where that comp sits. And if I turn that on, so you can visually see that, you can see that's, different way to adjust your comp. And that works the same functionality for all those. Again, just remembering that the amp and IR are tethered together. Now, there are some hidden features that I want to show you here at this point because it ties to setting up your signal chain. So let me get back to this view for a second here because you're going to want to see this as well visually. Let me, in this view here, let me get back out of this. There we go. Now I want to show you this here. You can see it in the QuickTone. You can see when you hover over these, there's a couple of them that bring up sort of this hidden functionality. So it's this first EFX block here that is traditionally set up as different types of drives. And by the way, if you hit Control or right click, you can see all the different models you have available to you. And the nice thing is visually, they're not hiding kind of what these pedals are modeled after. So the cool thing is, again, just pretty intuitive as far as what these pedals are modeled after. But there are some hidden functionalities. So again, you can see here, it's telling you if you hold this with your mouse, do that again here. All I did there was I clicked and held with my mouse, and you can change this effects block here to be a modulation block. And then again, now if I right click, you can see all these different modulation models that are available. Now there's a couple of the blocks that do this. You can see if you hover over them, it'll tell you which ones. This one, you could switch to from a compressor to another distortion or another drive block. And the reason you might want to do that, if I switch this back to a drive like it normally is, you might want to stack some drives, right? And then actually this one here, you could even do the same thing. So this mod, you could switch to a drive. And again, you could stack 3 layers of drive if you wanted, not have a comp, or you could switch this one back to a compressor. So all I'm doing there is holding. Do that again, hold, and it switches back to a compressor pedal. Now, you don't have to do that on the QuickTone. I want to show you how this works on here as well. So if I get out and use that global button as my back button, and I'm going to get into edit mode here. I'm going to show you the functionality on these blocks here. So if you hold comp down, it'll enter the comp parameters, right? And now, let's say you wanted to tweak parameters. These become the different ways that you tweak. Now you can see however many parameters there are, it allows you to use the respective turn dial to kind of adjust those parameters. This R here, it took me a while to figure out what that is. This R is a recall. So if you press in dial 4, it'll recall to the default settings. That's pretty handy to have in case you really feel like, man, I've really messed this up. If you want to just recall to the default settings, that's how you do that. Now, if you want to switch out the comp like we did on the QuickTone, just simply hold down the comp, and you'll notice there, boom, what happened, right? It switched on the QuickTone, but it also switched in the unit here. It actually switches from a compressor to that distortion block. So that compressor turns into the compression block, turns into a drive block. So it's pretty handy. And again, you could do that with all of these ones that do that. So the effects, I believe it was the effects that can turn into a mod. Yep, there we go. So you hold down the effects block and just hold that down until it switches. And you can see that happening there. And then again, the modulation block down here can also turn into, from a modulation into another drive block, or EFX block as they call it. But again, essentially it's a drive block. So super handy. Now, if you want to switch the order of how these pedals are, I already showed you kind of how to do that one way with the, pushing up here. You could change the order there, or in QuickTone, it's super easy. Like, look at this. You just drag. Again, you just click and drag, right? And so let's say you wanted to, for example, you wanted to have, I'm going to switch and hold this. Switch and hold. All right, I'm going to turn that into, I don't want a mod. I want to, let's say you wanted to have, so I'm turning this into drives there. So I've got a gate, the wah, compression, 2 drives, amp, you got an EQ. This SNR, by the way, is send and return, which tie into, there's a send and return jacks out of the unit, so you can run your own pedals. So super handy. You've got that as a block. Again, you can put that wherever you want. I haven't got that set up, so I'm not going to engage that right now. But and then you can run, again, you can just see how easy it is to click and drag. But you can, again, you don't have to do this on the QuickTone. You could do this on the unit itself by simply, so watch, if you watch here, this delay and reverb, what I'm going to do is hold down 2 of the signal blocks together at the same time. And what that's going to do, if you notice here, it's switched the order. So again, let me do that again. You can see that switching right there. And you can even do it with, let's say I wanted to switch this reverb and comp for some reason. Boom. holding those two down together, and you can see it'll do that. Now, for some reason, that does not work with the amp, and I'm not going to do this now because it actually is a little bit of a glitch. It freezes up the unit. So don't try to switch the amp order this way. For some reason, when you try to switch the amp order, it actually freezes up the unit. You have to like restart the whole unit. So I don't want to do that right now to demonstrate. But if you want to switch the amp, the easiest way to do it is in QuickTone, or again, up, click on your amp block, and then simply use the joystick directions to switch the order of your amp. So again, that's super easy, just even on the unit itself, to be able to reorder the way your signal chain is laid out. So now let me show you a little more of the editing. So I'm going to hold down the comp block. I'm going to get out of that mode there. I'm going to hold down the comp block, get into the parameters here. And then again, these rotary dials, way you can adjust, press in 4 if you feel like you've kind of messed something up, you want to go back to the default. If you, let me find one with, let's go to the reverb here. So here we go, because you got a bunch of dials, right? So a bunch of different parameters. So if you're let's say you're adjusting those, you can see the nice thing is it literally real-time adjusts on the QuickTone as well. And you can see there, you can even on the QuickTone, by the way, you can see engaging that foot switch turns on and off the unit, tells you when it's bypassed. And again, you can always press in 4 if you want to just return to the default. And so real handy there. I want to find one. Let me go to a mod. Let me find one here. So by the way, if you're in this edit mode, like you can see here, if you use the joystick, that's going to go to a different block, but stay in that edit mode, edit view like that. If you rotate the dial, that's going to switch different models. So let me go back to the modulation here. And actually an amp would be a good one to show it with you. So again, if you want to switch amps, I'm in the amp block, and I'm literally, this is where I'm using that turn dial. And I'm probably giving you a seizure there, but you can see that switching there. But I want to show you this here. So you see the 2 there. What that means is there's a second page to these parameters. So you can see here, if I use these turn dials, I'm adjusting all the ones that are there. And again, you can always hit 4 to kind of go back to, what it'll do, by the way, as you saw there, it'll go back to the default preset for this patch. So that's why it's switched amp models. But you can see the 2 there. If I hit 2, or actually push the 2 in, again, these are turn rotary dials, but they're also able to be pushed in. If you do that there, you can see it switches to the second page of dials. So that's just the way, if you see 1 and 2, that's how to navigate that. And again, press in 4, you can always return to the default setting. Now, something kind of cool, a little bit of a hidden feature. When you're in this edit mode, if you hold down 1, oh, sorry, not in the edit mode. Let me go back 1 layer. If you're in this patch kind of browsing mode, if you hold down 1, you're going to get to adjust the volume. Well, that's not coming up here. Let me get to a different patch. See if there's just a little bit of a glitch. All right, maybe it is. Yeah, I thought it was edit mode. So let's go back to this. Man, that's really interesting. Let me go back to this here. There we go. Sorry. That was a user error, not MG30 error, by the way. All right, so it is on this layer. So if you're on your patch browsing layer, so again, this layer here, where you can kind of browse the patches, go up and down. If you tap, you don't actually have to hold it in. That was my user error as well. You just tap once on this first rotary dial. It's going to bring this up, and this is actually your volume for this patch. Now, this does affect the USB recording. So right now, if I turn my volume on, you can see the signal is going to get louder and quieter. If I tap that back, watch here, I'm going to give it virtually no signal. You can see it got quieter on the stream there. And again, you could always, the nice thing is you could always hit 4, kind of go back to recall. So what I did there was I tapped 4, it recalled the default volume. Now, if you tap 2, this is really cool. It shows you the default BPM for your tap tempo for the song. And by the way, if you actually tap in, you can see it's actually affecting the tempo. So it's kind of just another neat way to do some tap tempo. Where you might want to use this is, let's say you've actually reassigned this control, which I'll show you how to do in a second. You might actually want to use that functionality of being able to just kind of like go down and tap that, and maybe potentially even with your foot, if you can do some finesse and tap dancing there. But again, hit 4, it'll always, if you hit 4, Do this here. If you hold down 4 for a little bit there, it'll go back to the default tempo. 3 is just a way, if you tap 3, it's just a way to see the stress on the DSP, the different CPUs that are built into the unit. So it's kind of a handy way to look at, like, man, are you approaching that max level of DSP? I don't think you should see any problems there, but just a neat way to be able to monitor that there. Just tap in 3. So there, then that explains some of the editing functionality. Now, I do want to show you this. If you hold down the unit, the little joystick unit or joystick knob, when you're in either this patch browsing mode or even if you're in edit mode, I believe it works as well. So let's try that here. Yeah, you go down. What this brings up is this menu, and let me actually show you this in this view here. This menu is assigning these, and the nice thing is there's a visual right here. It's assigning these different, switches. So these guys here, this switch here, the control switch, and also how the volume pedal or expression pedal is going to operate. And so let me just show you this here. Like you can see one here is set up right now. This is set up to control the wah pedal and also the volume pedal. Now that you can see that back, if I get back to this view, you can see that here. It says volume and wah. It took me a while to figure that out because I was wondering why it wasn't assigned to be the volume pedal. So it kind of, with each patch, basically this defaults to the volume pedal unless you actually engage the wah. And that took me a while to figure out as well. So I will show you that in a second, but let me just kind of continue showing you how this works here. Now, 2 and 3, the nice thing is, again, it gives you some visual pictures here. 2 and 3 is what's coming out of the expression jack, the expression kind of pedal jack at the back of the unit. However, I have this NMP2 set up, and you can see visually here, it tells you that that is 3, and it's set up as a tip ring cable. So it's got a tip and a ring cable. And so 2 really is doing nothing at this point in terms of the way I have it set up right now. I don't have anything plugged into 2, but I have got this set up here for the NMP2. So it's 2 and 3. And so again, if you use 3 here, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, so it ties into these rotary knobs. If I use 3, I can decide essentially what blocks I want that to turn on and off. So it's really handy. So for example, I could do wah. So now if I did that, what's going to happen when I hit this guy here? You can see it engaged the wah. And the visual, see that light turn green? That's essentially your visual indicator that your wah pedal or that block is on. So let me go back to that again, hit down. If I wanted to say, have that be, again, a gate, you can assign it to essentially any of the different signal blocks, or you can see you could choose to be seen there. Reverb, high, I believe that's reverb HF, I'm assuming is like high filter, like a high pass filter for the reverb there, but you can assign to this. If you press in, it'll switch to this second parameter there, and that shows you then again the ring. So this, you can decide like which effects blocks you want these 2 pedals to control. So that's all on 3 for the NMP2. At first I got a little bit confused because I was thinking, oh, it says 2 and 3 is the effects block there. So I was thinking that 2 and 3 would be the 2 foot switches on the NMP2, but just know that it's all on 3 if you're using the NMP2. And then kind of the neat thing is number 4, you can see you can assign that as well. It's default set up to control tap, but you could set it up to be your scene controller, which could be kind of handy. So you could set that up to be your scenes. And then this took me a little bit to figure out too. What S3 on meant is, let's say you set up a scene that there's in a patch, you only want 2 scenes. That is basically that functionality there. You could turn that on and off. Again, I'm thinking everyone's probably going to want to use the max scenes available to them, so I'm going to leave that on. And I'll show you what that does here. Now, when I hit this, you'll see right here the scenes are changing. So scene 1, 2, and 3. And the scenes are nice because let me come back to this view here. The scenes are nice because, again, you could just, it's a real easy way to go, okay, in this scene, maybe it's the intro or verse of a song. I want like these pedals on. Then I'm going to turn on a drive for like chorus, maybe bridge, and then maybe scene 3 is like a big solo part or something, or a big climax of the song. We're going to turn on like another layer of drive and maybe kick up your reverb trails and things like that. So again, the scenes are really handy. So that covers just assigning that. Now, one thing I want to show you, the wah pedal, you're supposed to be able to, because it took me a while to go like, man, you're supposed to be able to click this down and engage your wah pedal. And so you actually have to get into the global settings to set that up. So now I want to show you the global settings here. So if you hold down the global, it's going to bring up this menu here. And let me do a quick deep dive of this in a second, but I do want to show you this wah pedal thing because it took me a while to figure out. So to do that, you kind of use this rotary encoder and you go over to, let me switch to this view here, a little full view for you. You go over to where it says EXP setup, tap in, and then this setting here, I haven't really played around much with this, but basically it's kind of like choosing whether you want the wah to follow and have it be like a global thing to where if you switch patches, let's say you've got your wah engaged, it'll actually stay engaged when you switch to your next patch, even if that's not how the patch default comes. So you can play around with that. You could turn that on if you want that as a feature, or you could have it be turned off. I'm going to leave it off for now because a lot of the time, especially for a worship context, I'm going to want this to be a volume pedal for the most part. But this is important to do the, you can see here it says press control for calibration. So you're going to want to do this right when you set up the unit. So you're going to go control. It's going to give you instructions. Just follow us on the screen. You're going to set it to the minimum. Then press control like it says. You're going to set it to the maximum. Press control. Then you're going to go like this and you're going to press down. And you're going to see it like it's going to give you a level of, it's going to measure that pressure, and then you're going to hit save. Or you can actually hit control, it'll do the save for you, or you could hit save. Now, what that did is check out this. So now when I press down to that same level of pressure, it's going to actually act essentially as a foot switch, and it's turning that wah on and off. You could see there. Let me show you this on this view so you can see what's happening on the, there we go. You can see on the QuickTone here, it actually turned. It's a little bit hard to see because it's darker. Let me switch let's switch to like this horse wah. There we go. You can see it's turning that on and off. You can see that a little bit better there. So that's something that took me a while to figure out. I was like, man, how do you turn on the wah pedal? I was seeing people do that in videos and I could not figure it out. So hopefully it can spare you some trouble there, and just knowing how to do that, you're going to want to do that calibration right away. Let me go back to the home screen, show you the last few things here. Is pre-EQ. This is actually really handy. So you can actually, if let's say your guitar signal is super hot, you could use this parameter to kind of trim that down, and you could adjust even like, let's say you wanted to adjust a little bit of a basic EQ settings for your guitar. This is like coming into the unit, so before it even hits any of the effects chains and things. So that might be really handy. I'm going to hit 4 to kind of return to the default for now. Again, you could always remember that. Anytime you see that R, press down on 4, allows you to recall. Output mode, if I scroll over to that, there's different output modes for the unit. So you can use the rotary knob. You can actually run this into amps like so. And then it actually, I believe, if you run it into amps, it turns the IR block off. So if you are running into your own cabs and things, you're going to want to make sure you're just setting this for the application that you want. If you do the studio direct mode, essentially you're just using the IR block and you're using that output there. So that's what that is. Go one layer back. I've showed you the EXP setup. USB routing. You can do reamping with this. You can run the signal dry. And again, you could always adjust your record and your play level. And so that's a way to do this. Let me show you on the QuickTone editor. There's also a way to get this really easily here. If you click on settings, essentially you can kind of change the functionality of this, I think, a little easier, and it even gives you visuals. So it's kind of nicer to do that from the QuickTone app, as you can see there. Go back out of that. Display, this is just a way to adjust. You can actually upload a custom picture, which is kind of neat. You can adjust the brightness. If I believe it's 3, you can adjust the brightness of the display, as you see there. Let me go back into this view for you. You can adjust the brightness, you'll see there. And then this large name or large number, if I switch to large name, you'll see what'll happen here is it's going to switch to the number becomes small and the name of the patch becomes bigger. So you might actually want that, especially if you're naming them, let's say song names and things, you might actually want to leave that on like that. If I go back into global, hold down. This para follow, I want to show you this. This is interesting. And now to turn this on, it took me a while to figure this out. I felt really silly. But you basically just have to rotate the dial to turn that on and off there. With it off, what happens is, let me back out of here. If I go back into an editing mode for a second, now watch here. I'm going to tweak some parameters. I'm going to tweak these things. Now, if I switch, so I'm going to go sustain all the way to the left, level all the way to the right. I wouldn't recommend ever setting your settings to that, but hey, for the purpose of illustration, I want to show you this. Now, if I switch out models, watch what happens. If I come back to that rose comp, it's going to default to the default setting for that. If you turn on this parafollow, I'm going to go back to global settings there, turn this on and hit save like it says there. Now watch what happens if I do the same thing. I'm going to go back to comp, so holding down the comp. Now I'm going to adjust this, and then watch what happens. So same thing, sustain all the way to the left, level to the right. I'm going to switch models, and now watch what happens. If I come back to that rose comp, the parafollow actually saves that for you. So that might be kind of nice. If you're kind of like testing things out, you're like, kind of like this, but I want to try one of the other models. Again, might want to leave that parafollow on. So that's a good setting to just leave on. Go back into this. Here, system restore, self-explanatory. You can restore your system. You could do a ghost backup, which essentially is just backing up your entire unit. You can do a system inspection. I ran that, not quite sure really what it does, to be honest, but maybe just sees if there's any errors and things. But again, all the kind of system-related things are in there. Super easy to do a factory reset, by the way, as well. This is kind of funny. Game, there's a snake game. If you get bored, you can try that out. I'll let you do that on your own. And then lastly, info just tells you the kind of the models of the CPUs. And then this is actually really handy. It does tell you the firmware. The reason this is handy is you're going to want to look at the NUX website. I believe it's NUX Audio or NUX Audio. And you're going to want to look at what the latest firmware is, and you're going to want to update that. Now, I'm not going to do an update of the firmware in this video. I already did that, as you could see there. But again, if you need help with the firmware, there are some videos of this already. If it's helpful for me to do a video, let me know in the comments, and I'd be happy to do that. But that is the functionality of the MG30. Man, super easy to use. You know, again, hopefully this video has done a justice to kind of showing you how easy it is on both this QuickTone editor to adjust things. You can see here, it's super easy to do that with your mouse. Again, just as easy to do it actually on the unit itself. And then lastly, one last thing I'll show you here is very easy to import and export different patches as well. As you can see, you can export everything there. You can import patches. Let me get out of here. And you can see there it's pulling up a dialog. Pull that over for you there. It's pulling up a dialog on my computer. Where do you want to import from? You can access the drum, the looper functionality there. You can assign the expression pedal from the QuickTone as well, just like that. Again, looks very similar, right? So should be, whether you're doing it on this unit or you're doing it on the QuickTone, should be able to find that pretty easily. You could save. And then lastly, I showed you this already. You can even set up custom MIDI. Again, I'm not going to go through that in this video, but you can set up some MIDI. Your MIDI features there. This is where you can upload that custom boot up picture, which is kind of neat. You could reset your settings to default there and adjust all your settings there. One last thing I do want to leave you with is if you go to the IR block here, it took me a little bit to figure this out. If you wanted to load in your own IRs, which is an amazing feature of this unit, you right click on the cabinet. So if I go to the IR here and hold down, let me see here. Let me switch patches. All right, there we go. Come on. All right, there it is. Sorry, a little bit of a glitch, but you can see there. So if I hold down, there we go. All right, it's being a little bit glitchy, but if right click and hold down, there we go. It'll show you these are the IRs that come loaded in already with the unit, so you can kind of try one of those out. Or you can see here it says user. You can click that, and what it's going to do is bring up that. There we go. Being a little glitchy with me, but there we go. Click that again. It's going to bring that up, and you can import your own. So if you go import, you can see here, you can, let me drag this over for you there. You can see you can pull in some patches or some IRs, excuse me, and just load in your own IRs. You can do that for any of the patches, which is amazing. You could load a ton of IRs in and just try those out. All right, friends. Hopefully that gives you an overview and just saves you some time. I kind of hopefully did the work for you, just going through the manual. Like I said, it took me about a week and a half just to figure everything out. Functionality of how it all works. And I wanted to make a video to hopefully help some other people out. If you are a worship leader, like I said, please head over to Influential Worship. I'm going to put this up on the screen here. And there's a free guide for you that'll teach you 6 practices you can implement this week to give you a greater sense of confidence in your worship leading. These are things that I wrote down because when I started worship leading, I wish I'd had somebody kind of walk me through and tell me some of these things. I would love to get that into your hands. Head over to Influential Worship, and that will come to you free of charge. Just put in your email there, and you'll also get weekly content on just investing in you as a worship leader. So would love for you to be a part of that. So head over there. And with that, friends, God bless you. I will see you in the next video.